My name's William, I'm 27 now, and up until about 2 years ago, I was still holding on to this stubborn hope that maybe, just maybe, my family would finally see me as more than the go-to punching bag they'd shaped me into. But people don't just change because you're hoping they'll wake up one day and treat you better. Sometimes, they dig their heels in even deeper. And when that happens, the only thing left for you to do is stop hoping and start remembering who you really are. I was the firstborn, oldest of 3. Then came Rose, the shining star of the family, and after her, James, the unexpected bonus baby who was always too young to matter in any real family drama. From the outside looking in, we probably came off like your average, tight-knit trio. Holiday snapshots, polite birthday posts on Facebook, the kind of curated online presence that makes everything look picture-perfect. But behind the curtain, I was the one expected to keep things from falling apart. Like the time Rose wrecked her car during college, guess who emptied out his savings account to quietly take care of it so she wouldn't lose her internship? Yep, me. Or when mom forgot to pay the electric bill 3 months straight and tried to pin it on James for playing too many video games. I covered that too, silently. No thank you, no recognition. Just a shrug and that all too familiar line, well, that's what family's for, right? And I kept doing it. Over and over. Every late night favor, every cent, every ounce of emotional support, I gave it without protest. I convinced myself that if I just kept showing up, kept being reliable, maybe one day they'd finally look at me with a little pride. That fantasy came crashing down last November, on what started out as an ordinary day. Rose had just gotten engaged to Paul, her longtime boyfriend. We weren't close, but he always came off as one of those inoffensive, preppy types. Wore boat shoes to family dinners and said stuff like, "Killer spread, Mrs. C," without a trace of irony. Still, I was genuinely happy for her. I figured maybe this would be the turning point where we all started getting along. I texted her a quick congratulations, told her I was happy to help with anything she needed, and even offered to pay for their honeymoon as my gift. Her reply? A lazy, THX, and that was it. I didn't think much of it, until 2 weeks ago, when mom called me while I was finishing up work. To this day, I can't tell if she meant to let the bitterness creep into her voice or if she just didn't care that I caught it. "Don't even think about coming to the wedding," she snapped, before I had the chance to say hello. She said Rose finally deserved a perfect day, and they weren't going to risk me ruining it. I just sat there in silence, trying to process what the hell she meant. I wasn't planning to make a toast or pull focus. I just planned to show up, clap at the right times, maybe shake a few hands and give some hugs. Ruin it how? I asked, slowly, still not understanding. That's when her tone shifted into that syrupy sweet voice she always used when delivering something cruel wrapped in fake concern. "William, you've never exactly fit the part. You know that, right? You dress like you're interviewing for a job you're not going to get. And the way you linger around people, it makes everyone uncomfortable." Then she dropped the real punch. "Rose doesn't want you in the photos. She asked me to tell you." And honestly, I don't blame her. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. It was like my ears started ringing. After all the years of bending over backwards, all the effort I poured into being the reliable one, now I was being told I wasn't even welcome to sit quietly in the background. And then, through the line, I heard Rose's voice, light and dismissive, laughing like the whole thing was some big joke. "Tell him he can still send a gift," she said, as if I was nothing more than a wallet with a name. "He's good for that." I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice or try to defend myself. Instead, I smiled. That same tight, practiced smile I used to give my old boss whenever he tried to unload his responsibilities on me. The kind of smile that means, you have no idea what's coming. "Sure," I said, my voice calm and easy. "I get it." She hung up without another word. I opened my laptop, logged into the joint account I had set up to cover the honeymoon gift, and canceled the transfer. $4,200, back in my pocket in 5 seconds flat. Took a screenshot of the reversal and texted it to mom with a single caption, "Wouldn't want to ruin anything." She didn't reply, but I know she read it. She always reads everything. Now here's the part none of them know. Last year, I quietly invested in a handful of struggling event venues, ones that were still trying to bounce back from the pandemic. One of them, the exact spot Rose had been bragging about booking all over Instagram. Lakeview Ridge. That place with the big white gazebo and the brunch menu that's more expensive than it has any right to be. As soon as I saw the post, I double-checked my emails to be sure. And sure enough, it was part of our portfolio. Not only did I have a stake in it, but I was one of the people who had final approval over major bookings. Weddings included. My first instinct was to cancel the whole thing then and there. Just pull the plug and let them deal with the chaos. But honestly, that felt too easy. Too clean. They wouldn't feel it. I wanted them to marinate in their smugness a little longer. To post their countdowns, share their dress fittings, bicker over seating charts. I wanted them to keep laughing behind my back for just a little while longer. So, I waited. Quietly. I reached out to the event coordinator at Lakeview Ridge and asked to be alerted if anything came up regarding the Carson wedding reservation. I reviewed their contract, just in case. Let me tell you something, the contract. It's rock solid. Practically bulletproof. Except for this one little clause, tucked away in the fine print like a landmine. Final payment has to be made at least 10 days before the event. If it's not, the reservation doesn't get delayed. It doesn't get rescheduled. It gets forfeited. Gone. Now the wedding's 12 days out. And as of this morning, no final payment in sight. I didn't have to lift a finger yet. All I had to do was wait. Sit back. Let them keep acting like I'm some background character they'd rather crop out of the family portrait. Let them keep grinning for Instagram, completely clueless that the entire stage they're standing on was built by the same guy they decided didn't belong in the shot. It's funny how fast people forget who helped them when the help stops coming quietly and without conditions. Since that phone call, I hadn't heard a peep from Rose or my mom. Not even a fake olive branch, no last minute, maybe you could come to the rehearsal dinner, or anything that resembled an apology. Just silence and smugness, like they'd won something. But silence has a way of amplifying all the things people don't say. And in that space, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I started living for myself again. I hit the gym. Cleaned up my place. Took myself out to a real dinner. For once, my phone wasn't blowing up with frantic, "Can you send money?" texts or "We need a favor" calls. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels well-earned. The kind of peace that shows up right before a controlled burn. Then, 5 days before the wedding, I got an alert from Sarah, the venue coordinator at Lakeview Ridge. She's been around forever, the type of person who's seen more wedding breakdowns than a divorce attorney. Sharp as hell. Calm, professional, and always a few steps ahead. Her message was short, polite, and clear as day beneath the surface. "Hey William, just a heads up. The Carson party still hasn't made the final payment. I've sent 2 reminders, but nothing back yet. Let me know how you'd like to proceed since we're cutting it close." I called her that afternoon. Kept my voice steady, laid back. "If the payment doesn't come through by the deadline, we consider the booking void. Just follow the contract." Sarah paused. "You sure? I mean, they're counting on this. They've booked about 15 vendors, hired a full-on string quartet, and I heard something about doves during the vows." I let out a dry chuckle. "Doves? Wow. Fancy." She laughed too, quietly. "All right," she said. "I'll stick to protocol. Deadline's in 2 days." Now, I could have said something. Could have shot Rose a quick text, "Hey, payment's late. Might wanna handle that." But I didn't. Because they made their stance crystal clear, I wasn't family. Not worth including in a photo. Not even worth a folding chair at the ceremony. Just a breathing ATM. So I made my decision. I wasn't going to step in. I wasn't going to rescue them from their own negligence. I was going to let the rules do the work for me. The morning the deadline hit, I took the day off. Treated myself to a proper breakfast, eggs, black coffee, bacon crispy enough to snap. Around noon, I checked my email. Nothing. No payment. No last-minute message. No frantic call begging for more time. Just silence. That evening, Sarah marked the booking as cancelled in the system. At exactly 7:18 p.m., I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Ignored it. 30 seconds later, the same number again. This time, I picked up. "Hi, is this William? This is Sandy, I'm Rose's wedding planner." I almost laughed out loud. Of course it was. "Yes," I answered, keeping my tone even. "So, we're just trying to sort out a small issue with the venue," she said, clearly flustered. "There seems to have been some kind of glitch, and the final payment didn't go through. Probably just a mix-up with our account. But we were hoping to confirm everything's still on schedule for Saturday." I leaned back in my chair, eyes on the ceiling. There was no glitch. The payment deadline passed last night. The booking was released. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing, and somewhere behind her, the sound of voices arguing in hushed, frantic tones. Then she came back, voice thinner, more nervous. But, surely you can make an exception, right? This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. The bride's got her dress, guests are flying in. Sandy, I cut in, calmly. I understand. I do. But the policy is clear. If they wanted it locked down, they should have paid on time. We sent reminders. That was more than fair. She fumbled for a response, eventually muttering, I'll talk to Rose. Less than an hour later, my phone rang again. This time, it was a number I did recognize. Mom. William, she barked, skipping any kind of greeting. What the hell is going on with the venue? Rose is in tears. They're saying the wedding was cancelled because of you. I raised an eyebrow, already exhausted. Me? I didn't cancel a thing. The deadline came and went. I didn't lift a finger. I just happened to know it was coming. You knew. Mom hissed through the phone. You knew and you didn't say anything. You let this happen. I let what happen? I said, my voice steady. You mean, I didn't jump in to bail you out again? There was a pause. Just for a second. Then her voice dropped, icy and sharp. Do you really hate your sister that much? No, I said, slow and deliberate. I just finally stopped letting you all treat me like I'm disposable. I thought about all the things she'd said. All the ways they'd shown me I wasn't welcome. You said I'd ruin the pictures, I continued. So I took myself out of the picture. Simple. You always have to make it about you, she snapped, venom dripping from every word. No, I said again, softer this time, almost like I was explaining it to a kid. You made it about me. The moment you decided I didn't even deserve a chair at your perfect wedding. I'm just following your example. She hung up without saying another word. Later that night, I got a text from Rose. No greeting, no smiley face, nothing but cold words. You seriously couldn't have warned us. And then, about a minute later, wow, you're a bitter little man. I didn't bother replying. I didn't need to. Because the real fallout, that was just getting started. The venue was gone. Their dream wedding had crumbled underneath them. Vendors were backing out. The doves they ordered, staying locked up in their cages. And the best part? They still had no idea how deep this mess actually went. While they were busy panicking, trying to slap together a last-minute plan B, I was sitting on a little secret. They thought the worst had already hit. They didn't realize I wasn't even close to finished. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen new texts and 3 missed calls, 2 from Rose, 1 from Paul. The messages bounced between half-hearted guilt trips, we're still family, William, no matter what happened, and straight-up insults, can't believe you're petty enough to sabotage your own sister's wedding. I sat there, sipping my coffee, casually scrolling through all of it. No reactions. No anger. Just a kind of detached amusement. They had no idea how much worse it was about to get. See, for the past year, Rose and Paul had been parading this wedding around like it was some kind of royal event. They had professional engagement photos, a wedding website with a live countdown, a color scheme built around 4 different shades of soft champagne. Lakeview Ridge wasn't just a venue to them, it was the venue. It was their whole brand. Every Instagram post, every Pinterest board pin, every cute little save-the-date card, they all revolved around Lakeview Ridge. Even their RSVP envelopes had a watercolor painting of the damn gazebo. It wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was an image. A curated fantasy they built on borrowed money and a lot of quiet help from people like me. They never told anyone that I was the one footing the bill for their honeymoon. Nope. They pocketed the money, posted glossy photos online, and pretended Paul had pulled it off all by himself. And the sad part? I wasn't even bitter about it at first. I was proud of them. I genuinely wanted them to have a beautiful beginning. But apparently, the ugly brother didn't fit the aesthetic. And now, with 4 days to go, the clock was ticking fast. They were scrambling to find another venue, and from the inside, I knew exactly how ugly that scramble could get. Nothing decent was available at such short notice, especially not for the size of their guest list. Even if they managed to find something, everything would need to be redone, floral designs, ceremony setup, catering, all of it. And the real kicker? They'd bragged for months about this incredible custom package deal they negotiated at Lakeview Ridge. The package they were so smug about. That discount existed because I had quietly asked Sarah, the coordinator, to hook them up. It was my gift to them, meant to be discreet. Now that the booking was dead, that deal was dead too. If they somehow crawled back to Lakeview Ridge, it would cost them double, if we even let them back. That afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was Paul. "Hey, William," he started, voice tight and awkward. "Listen, I know there's been, some tension. I just wanted to, clear the air, man to man." I said nothing. Just let him twist in the awkwardness. He cleared his throat. "Look, Rose is really upset. The wedding, it's important to her. To both of us. I'm sure we can work something out, right? I mean, you've got connections at the venue. You could pull a few strings." I leaned back, letting the silence stretch. Finally, I said calmly, "Paul, did you know I was the one paying for your honeymoon?" He hesitated. "What? The honeymoon? The fancy resort with the villa and the private chef? The one you two posted about nonstop?" Another pause. "That was me," I said. $4,200. Sent it over 2 months ago. I didn't know that." "Of course you didn't," I said, almost kindly. "Because Rose didn't want you to know." I let the next part sink in. She told me I'd ruin her photos. She didn't want me there. So, I took back the honeymoon. Silence again. I pictured him sitting there, blinking at the wall like a kid who just realized he forgot to do his homework. "I'm not trying to pick sides," Paul said, his voice quieter now, almost like he was pleading. "But I don't think you get how stressed Rose is. This is her day." I nearly laughed right then and there. Oh, I understood perfectly. I just didn't care anymore. Click. 3 hours later, Sarah emailed me with the subject line, "Update on the Carsons." I opened it. Short version. Rose had called the venue, sobbing her eyes out. She claimed she was completely blindsided by the cancellation, said it was unfair, unethical, you name it, she threw it out there. She demanded to speak to the owner directly. Sarah asked if I wanted to handle it personally. "Not yet," I told her. Instead, I had a better idea. I logged into the backend of Lakeview Ridge's website and made a tiny, harmless little update to the homepage. "Please note, Lakeview Ridge is proud to host a private corporate event on April 27th. No wedding bookings will be honored on this date." April 27th. Their wedding date. I didn't mention any names. Didn't need to. Anyone poking around for a last-minute backup venue would see it and immediately assume we were fully booked. Just like that, I'd turned out the lights on every escape plan they might have had without lifting a finger. Later that night, my phone buzzed. Aunt Melanie, one of the few family members who usually stayed neutral, had texted me. "Hi sweetheart. Can we talk? Rose is devastated. Your mom is beside herself." I stared at it for a long moment before typing back. She said I'd ruin her photos. I took that seriously. She left me on read. No response. The next morning, my cousin forwarded me screenshots from the family group chat. Not my group chat, their group chat. And oh, they were livid. Mom was ranting up a storm, blaming everyone, Sarah, the venue, probably the planets being in retrograde, anyone but herself. She kept screaming about how this isn't how family treats each other, and how she had bent over backwards to include me. Right, sure. Rose, true to form, chimed in with her own gem. "He's been jealous of me since high school. I always knew he'd find a way to make it about himself." Jealous. That word hit harder than I expected. Like getting slapped and punched at the same time, but with velvet gloves. Jealous of what, exactly? The polished little spotlight she always lived under. The endless fake compliments, the quiet backstabbing. I had built everything I had by grinding in silence while they played make-believe for Instagram likes. I gave and gave without ever asking for applause. And now, because I didn't lie down and let them walk all over me again, I was jealous. That was it. That was the final line for me. I forwarded all the screenshots to Sarah with a simple note. "You can respond now. Tell them the owner reviewed everything and denied the rebooking. Policy is policy." And then I made one more call. Jack, an old buddy of mine who runs a high-end catering business downtown. He owed me a favor. And today, I decided to cash it in. I didn't need anything huge. I just needed him to book a modest little corporate luncheon. 10 people. Same day. Same time. Same venue. He chuckled when he heard my plan. "You want me to book the place out, on their wedding day?" "Not just book it," I said, grinning. "I want photos. Instagram posts. Hashtags. Make it look like the classiest private event of the year." He was quiet for a second, then laughed again. Damn, William. You're really doing this. I smiled. They told me not to show up to the wedding. So I won't. But that doesn't mean I won't leave a mark. Saturday came, and it was one of those days brides pray for: cool, crisp air, not a single cloud in sight, sunlight streaming through the early spring leaves. The lake at Lakeview Ridge looked like glass, still and perfect. The white gazebo stood out like a postcard against the blooming cherry trees. It was absolutely beautiful. And none of it was for Rose. I got up early that morning, not because I had to, but because I wanted to savor it. I took a slow shower, brewed myself a cup of the good coffee, even ironed a shirt, just for the satisfaction of it. I sat by the window, phone in hand, ready to watch the show unfold in real time. The first post popped up around mid-morning. A distant cousin of ours, one of Rose's old college roommates, posted a confused selfie from her car. Is the venue closed? Just got here and no one's answering the gate. Please tell me I'm not the only one who didn't get a cancellation notice. I smiled into my coffee and refreshed the hashtag. More posts followed. Bridesmaids in full makeup, standing in clusters outside the locked gate, arms crossed and heels sinking into the dirt. Groomsmen in wrinkled tuxedos, pacing around parked cars looking helpless. A flower girl passed out in someone's back seat, her tiny tiara sliding halfway off her head. It was carnage. And the best part? They hadn't warned anyone. That was the one thing I hadn't fully expected. I figured Rose, or at least my mother, would have done some kind of last-minute damage control. Sent out a mass text. Made a phone call. Something. But they didn't. They were so sure that somehow, someway, someone, me, probably, would swoop in and save the day, that they didn't even bother telling their guests. That wasn't just arrogance. That was pure, blinding entitlement. And then came the post that made me laugh so hard, I almost spilled my coffee. Lakeview Ridge posted it first, an innocent little update. Hosting a beautiful lakeside luncheon for a special team today. Nothing like a little sun, spring air, and great food to celebrate big wins. Hashtag private event, hashtag booked out, hashtag corporate luxury. 3 long banquet tables, all draped in crisp white cloths. Crystal glassware sparkling under the sun. Waiters in black vests bustling around with trays. A champagne tower set up like a centerpiece. And in the background, barely visible but still unmistakable, Rose's custom floral arch. Only now, it had been repurposed for our luncheon's dessert station. The hand-painted Etsy sign that used to read "Forever Starts Here." Jack's team had flipped it, relettered it, and now it proudly said, "Success starts here." God, I would have paid money to see her face when she realized. Around noon, Sarah gave me a call. I answered immediately. "William," she said, and I could practically hear the laughter she was holding back. "We've got guests trying to climb over the side gate." I burst out laughing. "Please tell me you're kidding." "Nope," she said, grinning through the phone. "One of the groomsmen is insisting he knows someone inside. I told them it's a private booking and security's been notified." "Did they bring the doves?" I asked, wiping a tear from my eye. "Oh yeah," she said. 2 handlers and a crate. They're just sitting on the curb right now, looking real confused." I chuckled again, slower this time, feeling the satisfaction sink deep. "You've been incredible, Sarah. Really. I owe you one." "You don't owe me a thing," she said warmly. "This is the best Saturday shift I've worked in years." At 2:41 p.m., the inevitable happened. My mom called. I let it ring. Then Rose called. Then Paul. Then my aunt. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I opened up the family group chat, the one they'd stopped tagging me in months ago, and typed out 2 simple words. "You're welcome." And then I left the chat. That night, my phone buzzed again. It was James, my younger brother. The only one who ever treated me like an actual human being instead of a utility. He hadn't gone to the wedding. When I pulled the honeymoon funds weeks earlier, he called me and said, "If they're gonna act like you don't exist, I'm not gonna sit there and pretend they're saints." He'd stayed quiet, respectful, but I could hear it. He was done with them too. His message this time was short. "James, I saw the posts. I don't even know what to say. But I'm proud of you." They needed the reality check. "I'll call tomorrow." And for the first time in years, I felt it. Not just pride. Not just relief. Closure. Because here's the truth. People like Rose, and my mom, they build their whole lives around appearances. Around how things look from the outside. The seating charts. The dress fittings. The storybook memories they thought they'd tell over cocktails in 5 years. But what I gave them wasn't just a ruined wedding. It was a wrecking ball to the illusion they'd spent their lives curating. Nobody was going to remember how gorgeous Rose's dress was. They'd remember standing in high heels, locked outside a venue for 2 hours. They'd remember the doves that never flew. The champagne brunch that went to a corporate team while wedding guests stood around in a parking lot, confused and sweating. And eventually, the questions would start. Why didn't they pay? Didn't they have help? And somewhere down the line, someone would finally say it out loud. Maybe Rose wasn't the victim after all. Maybe the brother she tried so hard to erase had just decided he wasn't playing their game anymore. 2 days later, there was a pounding at my door. I waited a moment, then opened it. There stood my mother. She looked like a ghost. Mascara clumped under her eyes. Wrinkled blazer. Shoulders slumped. But her tone, still sharp as ever. You think you proved something, she hissed. I looked at her calmly. No, I said. I know I did. You humiliated your sister. I held her gaze, steady and sure. She humiliated me first, I said quietly. You did too. For years. You both thought I'd just keep taking it. Keep showing up, cleaning up, staying quiet. I shook my head. Not anymore. She shifted forward like she had a speech prepared, some final tirade to throw at me. But I didn't give her the chance. I bought the venue. I paid for the honeymoon. I supported this family more than anyone else ever did. And when it didn't fit your picture-perfect narrative, you erased me. I let that hang in the air. So this time, I said, voice low and final, you got erased. She stood there trembling, but no more words came. And you can tell Rose, I added, that I'm not angry. I'm free. That's a better gift than anything on her registry. And then I closed the door. 1 month passed. Then 2. Not a word from any of them. James and I grabbed dinner twice a week now. We talked about life, about work, about whatever stupid thing made us laugh. Sometimes, we even joked about the great wedding disaster of the year. Now and then, I'd get a sly text from someone who had been there, someone who wasn't brave enough to say it publicly but still wanted to quietly celebrate what I'd done. And honestly, that was enough. I didn't need a parade. I didn't need some grand public reckoning. I had peace. I had power. And for the first time in my life, I had a family I chose, not the one that tried to cut me out of the picture. So I took the frame. And I burned it.